Kenny Pickett coming off a concussion, his second in 8 weeks. If he's unable to go, which quarterback do you start against the Panthers? Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph? I'll turn it over to you, and I'll give you my opinion after.
Oh man, Mark, that's a tough question. What I will say, Mark, is whoever I was split between Mitch and Mason during the week, and whoever looks the best between them two, I will move forward on going on either or. So I will return this question to you. If you're in Coach Tomlin position, Mark, who would you have if Mitchell Trubisky couldn't go?
Kenny Pickett, but I got you, Ike.
I'm sorry. Kenny Pickett, I'm sorry.
So I would go with Rudolph, and here's why. You've got Trubisky under contract through this season and through next season. Rudolph is only under contract through this current season, then he's a free agent. If you're going to decide to bring him back beyond this season, give him a whirl, see what he can do, because through 4 starts, I know what Mitch Trubisky can do. He's made 54 career starts at this point in his career. I know what Mitch Trubisky is. He can be a solid backup. That's fine. But it was always going to be, let's have him hold the reins and then have Pickett take over when he's ready. I understand Trubisky has a mobility to his game that Mason Rudolph doesn't have, but I don't think if Trubisky plays that he could potentially increase his value. People know what he is as a quarterback in this league at the age of 28 years old. So if you can't improve his value and you avoid getting him hurt for next season, I would throw Rudolph out there to see what you've got. And maybe, even if you don't bring Rudolph back, I'm kind of thinking like a GM here. If you maybe increase his value and force another team to spend more money on a backup quarterback that they otherwise wouldn't want to spend, I'd give Mason Rudolph a shot this weekend, and that would be my argument for the Steelers' third stringer.
So, Mark, this is a business where winning is everything. So you feel like you can win on Sunday more with Mason than Mitch, or you're thinking more offseason than value? Because by the end of the day, we still trying to get this win.
Okay, if we're trying to win, I would go with Mitch, Ike, but I'm thinking the force between the trees, and I think it's marginal. I really Bleav it's marginal, the difference between Trubisky and Rudolph. If we're trying to win one game, yeah, I would go. I think Mitch Trubisky's a better quarterback than Mason Rudolph. I'm with you there. But again,
I was just curious.
I'm looking at this beyond just this one individual game, Ike, because at this point, to me, the playoffs are lost. I know that the Steelers are not yet mathematically eliminated, but it would be a long shot. And I will say this, either team that loses this game, they would have to have chaos happen for them to make the playoffs for either team, because both teams are 5-8 at this standpoint, Ike. So that's just the way that I would approach it. Yeah, if I'm trying to win one game, again, I think Trubisky is a better quarterback than Rudolph. I will concede that.
Okay, for sure. Just curious. Just wanted your thoughts on that.
Well, and I look at Trubisky when he's been at his best as a quarterback in this league. Remember, both Rudolph and Trubisky have winning records as quarterbacks. I just know what Mitch Trubisky is. He's 30-24 as a starter. Through 4 starts, I've seen what he can do with this team. He's been given his shot. Again, if Pickett can't go, and let me say this too, if Pickett can go, like Mike Tomlin said, I'm starting Pickett 10 times out of 10.
Right.
And this is just my opinion too, Ike. If Pickett had stayed healthy in that game against the Ravens, I think the Steelers win that game. Just my opinion.
Yeah. I'm not going to disagree with that. I think Kenny Pickett just gives that team a whole lot of hope, and he's more valuable right now when he's under center.
One final thought with Trubisky and the quarterback battle too, Ike. The one thing to where I would say let's start Mitch would be you don't want to ruin his confidence going into next season, because I want him to get the best out of Kenny Pickett. So if confidence is an issue at all and you're worried about that at all, I don't know the makeup and demeanor. I'm not in the locker room every day. I'm not in the practice meetings every day. But if that is an issue, then just go on and start Mitch, because honestly, like, this is a perverse way to look at it, Ike, and I understand this because it's very different. You spent 12 years as a player in that organization. But for me, it's like, if you're not going to make the playoffs, if you're not going to contend, let's try to get as high a draft pick as possible. And so to me, that's like the silver lining. And honestly, like, I'm kind of at peace watching Steelers games now, because if they win, it's like, oh, great, my team won. And if they lose, it's like, hey, well, maybe we can finally get a pick higher than 10th, which they traded up for Devin Bush in 2019. That's the highest pick of the Tomlin era. And so people that are criticizing the Steelers right now, I shake my head, because how many other organizations traditionally would love to be in the Steelers' shoes? And I've said this before, Mike Tomlin is the victim of his own success because of how many other people would want to be in his shoes, because he plays to win. He plays to compete every single game. I think that's something that separates the Steelers from other organizations in sports. Go ahead, Ike. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but Mark, don't nobody want to be in these kind of shoes. I mean, we talk so you gotta look at Cleveland, you gotta look at Chicago, you gotta look at Jacksonville, you gotta look at Detroit. Used to be Detroit. So you gotta look at the bottom of the barrel kind of organizations. And you never want to be them kind of organizations. I think Coach Tomlin said this a couple of years ago. He was talking to Jadeveon Clowney. He was like, boy, you look good, but sure, you too high for me in that draft. So that's the mentality, that's the mindset of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, you never want to be in the top 10 unless you're trading to be in the top 10. If you ain't trading to be in the top 10 and you just automatically in the top 10, a lot of people are getting fired. Yeah. That's just how it is. So now, from your perspective, you like, yeah, for sure, I get exactly what you're saying. But from a player's, a coach, and a front office perspective, it's like, nah, it sucks. It sucks to be in the top 10 every other year. Obviously, your team ain't doing good.
Well, it's been a long time since the Steelers have been naturally in the top 10, Ike, is what I'm trying to say.
Correct.
It was Chase Young from Washington that he had that conversation.
Yes, Chase Young, not just David Clowney. Correct.
Yeah.